I'm Hazel, it's Saturday today, which makes it time to sit down and catch up on the WoW news of the week, what I have been up to, and answer some of your questions. This week, Mop Remix had a ton of news, and I also want to highlight 2 more tips for any of you that are in there grinding away. First of all, if you somehow have not yet seen it, this is an add-on spotlight for Narcissus. This is an add-on that's been around in the WoW space for a long time, offering improved cosmetic screenshots and different ways to view your transmog, but in Mop Remix specifically, it is great for the thread counter and gem manager. With Narcissus installed, you'll have this hourglass on the right-hand side of your character pane. If you somehow don't see this, go into your Narcissus settings under extensions and make sure you have the paper doll extension enabled. You can mouse over this extension to see additional information about your cloak, including an exact number count of how many threads you have, and you can click on it to get to this gem management interface where you can click gems in and out of your various spots without needing to dig through your bags, pull them out of old gear, and shuffle them around generally. It is only a mild overstatement to say that this add-on saved Remix for me. The busy work of gem shuffling was getting to me after only leveling my first character, and using this add-on makes that process massively easier. The second quality of life tip is if you have not yet done so, drop by your bank. You can find a banker NPC at the Shrine City in Vale of Eternal Blossoms. Nearby, you'll notice a little whelp vendor that can sell you bags for 10 bronze each that are 36 slots, so you can use those to fill up your bank. I've found the bank to be particularly useful for stashing unused gems in. Maybe you get meta gems and cogwheel gems that you're just never going to use. I just throw them in the bank so that they don't have to sit in my bags. And later on, when these Mop Remix characters get released as regular Dragonflight characters, it might be nice to have 36 slot bags filling up your bank. Moving along to Remix news of the week, the frog farmers have been nerfed. In a blue post, Blizzard explained that characters who were flagged as killing, quote, an unreasonably large number of gulf frogs will have their cloak nerfed down to, quote, an amount that a very engaged player could reasonably achieve. We now know that that means 2,500 of each stat and then 25k stamina. And they also have added bonus bronze for any character that did not frog farm. So you have these new milestone bronze rewards for reaching level 50, 60, and 70. You're going to get 3k bronze at level 50, 7k at 60, and then 30k bronze at level 70. An existing level 70 character that never frog farmed will be able to complete all 3 of those quests right away for a bonus 40k bronze total. You can do this on multiple characters, it is not once per account, and any new characters that you level up are also going to be able to take advantage of this. That is very exciting for anybody that is collecting cosmetics from the event. While it's true that you can't transfer bronze to one character, so you couldn't use this to funnel bronze onto one character, all of these things that you're buying with bronze on the vendor can be learned on any character, and they get added to your account anyways. So you could use a bunch of different characters to buy all of the mounts and transmog sets, and of course those things are saved to your account once you've earned them. Both of these hotfixes are in the game already, so you can pick up your free bronze at the Infinite Bazaar. The Blizzard post indicated that it would be the Jade Forest Bazaar that has those quests, but it seems that they may be available at other bazaars as well, so keep an eye out for that purple triangular exclamation mark quest marker, and collect your free bronze if you turn out to be eligible. Circling back to the frog farm nerf, however, there's one common point of criticism about this, which is that a frog farmer would have powered up their cloak, which has now been brought back down into line, but they also most likely spend a lot of that bronze that they earned powering up their gear and are some of the only characters in the game right now that have fully upgraded gear. Using bronze to upgrade your gear at level 70 is one of the most controversial parts of Remix right now because it's so expensive. It is the only way to get any gear past item level 346 right now, and it directly competes with the collectibles vendors. You have to decide if you want to invest your bronze in making your gear stronger that you'll be able to keep for the rest of this limited time event, or getting cosmetics that don't give you any power at all, but you get to keep them forever. Speaking of alts, another welcome Remix hotfix this week. Necklace, ring, and trinket unlocks are now account-wide. So once you have unlocked one of these items via completing the relevant achievement in Mop Remix, your other characters are able to purchase that item off the vendor for 10 bronze. The vendor can be found at any of the Infinite Bazaars. It is the Gem Procurement vendor. These items have been on the vendor the whole time, but it's only with this hotfix that your alts have been able to purchase them. You do need to unlock it at least once in your account with an achievement though. So as a refresher, you unlock one trinket for reaching level 70. The other trinket is for the escalation achievement, completing any 3 of the 6 possible faction quest lines. One of your rings is going to come from doing all of the heroic dungeons, and one ring comes from doing all of the heroic scenarios. And then the net comes from full clearing all of the raids on at least normal difficulty. Now, with the way that scaling works right now, there's a weird quirk where you are pretty strong and powerful and able to do all this content while you're leveling, and then you hit like 65 to 70, and all of a sudden it is next to impossible. It may be easier for you to take a brand new alt and do these heroic scenarios and dungeons at the earliest level available than it would be to try to struggle through them on a relatively fresh 70 character. That is weird and backwards, and I'm not happy about it. But if you are struggling to get those achievements done on your main, consider making another character because they may have a much easier time in that content. Other hot fixes, Blizzard has buffed the amount of bronze you can get at level 70 from doing daily quests. The daily quests, scenarios, and dungeons are going to give 5 times as much bronze from their caches as they used to. Now, the way they worded this post was super misleading. They give this 8,750 figure. They make it sound like you get 8k bronze per random daily normal and random daily heroic, etc. You don't. It's 8k if you do all of them. It is 1250 bronze for each of those things. It is still 5 times what it used to be, but don't get too excited thinking you can just do a scenario and get a free 8k bronze every day on your main, because that is not what this means. They've also hotfixed into Remix more power that you can earn on your cloak via these thread spools. Thread spools are new items added to help get your cloak power kind of off the ground. They come in different quality levels, and higher quality spools will offer you more threads. Using a legendary spool is going to give 180 threads to your cloak. A max level character can get 9 legendary spools every day fairly easily by doing each world boss and then the 3 bazaar dailies to do a random scenario, a couple dungeon bosses, and a couple of raid bosses on any difficulty. You're also going to get spools from doing achievements, random dungeons, LFR wings, and more. With gear upgrades being so expensive right now, I think that working on your cloak via farming these spools is one of the only ways that doesn't involve you sinking your bronze collection into gear rather than cosmetics. It's one of the only ways to get your character power off the ground enough to kind of help you feel reasonable. And because your cloak power is going to stack up without any kind of cap for the rest of the event, if you have the stamina to keep doing this in one character, eventually they should be pretty strong. Altogether, these hotfixes add up to a somewhat smoother remix experience, although I'm sure they are still working on more. I really hope so. I'm having a ton of fun, but I do have 2 wishlist items that I hope are next on their hotfixing agenda. My first wish on my wish list would be to reduce the bronze cost to upgrade gear. In a perfect world, I would have preferred to have that be off bronze entirely so it's not competing with a cosmetic vendor, maybe a different currency that you could have earned by playing that character at max level, but it's kind of too late for that, so the next best thing would be if they dramatically reduce bronze upgrade costs. However, the longer they wait to do that, the more awkward it is for people that have already sunk the 600,000 bronze that they need to get a character fully upgraded. That feels pretty awkward. It almost feels more likely that they would gigabuff bronze acquisition rate rather than nerfing the upgrade cost. But either way, right now, getting your gear fully upgraded, it's not something you should expect to have done in a day, but the current values seem kind of wacky. The second item on my wish list would be to kind of smooth out scaling to help 65s through fresh 70s, because right now it is just so bizarre that a character that has not finished leveling yet absolutely smokes anybody that is above 60 and is trying to get on their feet at 70. As it currently stands, if you did not do all of your heroic scenarios before 70 and you're trying to finish them just for a ring, some of them are just flat impossible to do if you don't get lucky and queue into the right group comp for them, which is very against what scenarios were supposed to be, even heroic ones. It's normal to be a bit weak on a fresh max level character, so you have a starting ground on which to build on, but right now you are so weak as a fresh max level character that it feels almost impossible to even start building on it in the first place. Over in the War Within news, a big or small feature, depending on who you are and how you feel about this kind of thing, in the War Within, we will finally, after many years, be able to hide our pants. Pants had long been the final bastion of transmog gear that could not be hidden, but no more. You will now be able to hide every single slot of transmog if you so choose. This is going to be particularly nice for outfits that you're trying to mog where you want to wear a dress that has thigh cutouts and you don't want to have to show off socks or furry loincloths underneath. Or maybe you just really like the shorts that your character uses for skivvies and you want to wear those to raid. Blizzard is no longer going to stand in your way and tell you no. And then the other bit of news coming out of Alpha recently was that a possible story difficulty for the raid was Datamined. I don't think we have any details from the devs yet. I haven't seen any kind of post announcing it or talking about it at this time. But based on data mining, it looks like it is for 1 to 5 players, and it's marked as a story difficulty. So it sounds like it might just offer players a chance to see the culmination of the story that they've been following through all those campaign quests, even if they don't like the gameplay of raiding and they don't want to turn to YouTube. I'm hoping that loot-wise, it either offers no loot or world quest level loot, because I think LFR already kind of fits that sort of gearing threshold, but as a way for you to play through and see the story yourself, especially because there's more story in raids than just the cutscenes these days. Aberrus was a great example of a raid that had dialogue throughout the whole thing that you would have really needed to be there in order to get a feel for it. I think this is going to be a great option that opens up the story to more people and doesn't hurt anybody. And then in my life this week, I got my second character to 70 on Remix. It took about 7.5 hours, which was pretty dramatically faster than like the 16, I think, hours that my first character took to level up. I was initially disappointed that the Remix cloak is not truly account-wide the way that the announcement post made it sound. I was kind of expecting that all of the experience buffs that I'd earned in my mains cloak would carry over, and that is not true. It is a template. You get a template flat amount of 100% experience and then some stamina and some versatility and some main stat on your alt's cloaks after you've got infinite power 11, I believe it is. But even so, running around on a low-level character with that cloak feels incredible. You are so fast, you kill things so quickly, and between that and dragon riding everywhere, you are just zipping through the quests, and frankly, earning bronze pretty fast. I'm kind of torn between wanting to just level more alts to farm bronze and collect all the stuff versus trying to like invest time in setting up one max level character to eventually be able to do harder content that should give more bronze per hour. And with this new like 40k bronze for every level 70 that you level, I'm kind of leaning towards the alt thing because it seems less painful. And then questions from this week. Nitri wants to know, the trading post recolors, can you buy them and learn them as any class? Or should I level that class specifically? I was not going to level a monk, but I'm in love with the monk weapon cache recolor. So yes, you can buy those items and then learn them on any class that you like. You do need to do the relevant achievement, but once you've done the relevant achievement, you are able to purchase any of those things and learn them. You do not need multiple alts. And it's a good thing too, because otherwise you'd need to like, what, do the landfall achievement on 11 or 12 different characters? That would be a lot of landfall. And then Sleepin' Ratto asks, what do you recommend to maximize bronze for my time? And as a small follow-up, I like to collect things, so what should I prioritize? I'm assuming some things will go away. Will the recolor mounts? I figure the old mop mounts and mogs will still mean retail to farm later if need be. So in terms of the bronze farming, there are different strategies floating around, and I feel like the best ways to farm it are still kind of being hammered out and sort of subject to hotfixes. One school of thought is to use like twinked trial characters, like trial account characters that get locked in experience at level 20 to just blast through content for bronze. I don't know a lot of details about that. Another school of thought is that if you invest bronze heavily into one max level character and get it like fully powered up, you'll be able to just punch through content really, really quickly and then be able to farm bronze much faster that way. So kind of like invest a bunch of bronze up front to get them going and then be able to farm it. And then the other school of thought is just level alts, collect that 40k bronze bonus for each one. And then I found that in the process of leveling to 70, I get almost another 40k just from doing achievements along the way. I'm leaning towards the alt upgrades because that path does not force me to spend like 600,000 bronze on gear upgrades. I'm kind of hoping they do some hotfixes to make gearing up a little bit less painful. And then if they do that, I might give it more of a try. But until then, I'll probably just be leveling alts. The exception, though, is if one of the things that you want to buy is something that you need Bones of Manoroth for, you're going to be doing Siege of Orgrimmar. And if you're going to be doing a ton of Siege of Orgrimmar, it may very well pay off to have like a geared up, effective, capable max level character. And then as far as which things to prioritize purchasing, I am prioritizing the recolor mounts because those seem to be Remix exclusive. The achievement rewards, like you're saying, the Farmer's Backpack and the Cherry Blossom Trail toy and whatnot, as well as the class set arsenals and ensembles. Those are trading post recolors, but they are at this time only available from Remix, so those would be next. And then there's a couple of transmog sets that seem new to Remix. There are 2 Shadowpan recolors and then 3 Korkron Shaman set recolors that you can get for bronze. And then I mentioned the Garrosh heirlooms. It would take a lot of bones to get them all, but as far as I know, they are currently only available in Remix. It's not something that you could just go get in regular retail WoW. The rest of the stuff on the vendors, the world questing sets and the dungeon sets and the raid sets, those are all things that you could just farm normally. So those would be like a lower priority to spend your bronze on, although if you have the bronze, then it's an easy way to collect sets for sure. In any case, there is still plenty of Remix left to play. There's plenty of time left to get all of these things. And I am looking forward to seeing what they hotfix next, because I would be shocked if they were done. And that has been the week. Thank you very much for watching. If you have a question for a news video that you think I can answer, please pop it in the comments and include the word question to help me find it. I appreciate you guys, and I hope you have a wonderful wonderful day.